What's up, nerds? How we fucking doing, huh? Dude, I'm about to teach you everything you fucking need to know. Let's just be honest. What the things I teach, if you truly understand them, you will make so much money if you can apply the knowledge I'm giving you for free, absolutely for free. Okay? So, let's just dive right into this presentation, okay? Today, we're going to be talking about the history of payments, payments infrastructure, literally just the history of how human beings pay each other for doing different types of work. Okay. So, I'm going to start off with a little story. My grandfather is 84 years old or something like that, right? He, till this day, walks around with a gun strapped to his leg. And the reason is he, for almost 20 years, would show up to construction sites, okay, with a briefcase full of cash and a gun. Now, why would that be the case, right? Well, if you were a real estate entrepreneur, developer, whatever you want to call it, back pre 1974 ish, a lot of people preferred to get paid in cash, especially your ex-convict construction worker, right? So my grandfather was a wealthy guy. He'd show up in a nice car with a briefcase full of cash. And once you start to show up with a briefcase full of cash enough times in a row, you start to experience some dicey situations because you're then pretty predictable, right? So he was forced to carry a gun, and that paranoia carries with him till this day, okay? Because he's known in his area, at least back then, as the guy who had a lot of cash on him all the time, okay? So our current payments infrastructure, like Venmo, is super taken for granted today, even though there are people living who did not have those luxuries at all, okay? So, but before even that, it was for a long time, hundreds and hundreds of years. We just lived in these feudal societies, right? Where kings, serfs, knights, all these people, right, were just handed down money. And as you can see, this is essentially an image of serfs getting paid by their lords and fiefdoms, right? And you'll see that they're praising them like they're messiahs. They're bowing down to them. And there's a lot of swords, right? It's pretty much the same image, just ancient. Okay? So moving on. In 1974, something called SWIFT was created. Today, 11,000 banks and financial institutions across 200 countries continue to use SWIFT. It's like you can think of SWIFT as one of the first true network effects, okay? And it was created by a bunch of these banks who actually just came together to solve this problem that they're all facing, right? Which is essentially how do we make these international payments work, okay? And to this day, 95% of cross border payments still rely on SWIFT. And we have some alternatives that have popped up, in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Like TransferWise and PayPal, right? Who do improve the speed and like they improve certain qualities of money transfer, but it's still expensive. It's still centralized as well, and it's not that much of a meaningful innovation. Okay. At the time, PayPal was because it was more bridging the internet to banks, right? So but let's keep moving because it's not super relevant. And then in 2009, what we think of as the best invention ever came about, right? Blockchain, coin, all these things, okay? And so now we can use blockchain and Bitcoin to send money wherever we want, right? But what's really strange is Bitcoin's been around since 2009, right? And there have been a bunch of, how do I say it, failed communist states like Venezuela and all these different countries, right? But ever since this happened, USDC, USDT, Tether, right? All these stable coins were introduced. What happened? All of these people, pretty much, who are actually in situations where they need the value benefits, right? Like all the value propositions of Bitcoin, they go ahead and they use freaking stable coins. Not just stable coins, but US dollar stable coins. This is where the market demand is. And this is the thing that everyone is not talking about in the crypto world right now. Everyone is so fearful of CBDCs, right? But the market has already proven that the demand for stable coins by people who actually need this technology is basically greater than Bitcoin. Okay? And there's a very good reason for that. We're not going to win this battle. Blockchainization is only going to happen if it leads to dollarization, which I would argue is actually already happening organically. So, what we're going to start to see in the next 15 years or so, maybe even less, I hope, people are going to be paid to their mobile wallets via stablecoins, not via Bitcoin and all these other currencies. We are going to globalize the dollar even further through blockchain. Okay? The blockchain proved demand for the dollar. And as you start to see more and more assets migrate on chain, right? So more stocks migrate on chain, okay? More real estate assets. They have to create these liquidity pools that underpin them, right? Today, to trade those things, if I'm, say, in Spain or in Russia, and I have this real estate asset or I have this stock, the liquidity pool is tied to the jurisdiction I'm in. So it's a ruble, right? It's a ruble liquidity pool, okay? But the second goes on chain and in a decentralized manner, assuming the liquidity pool that they're going to be using to support those securities, because real estate, all stocks, all those things are securities, right? Once securities are migrated, their liquidity pools are going to be more dollarized than they were before. And if you follow what I'm saying, there's going to be an organic dollarization of all international securities because that is the safest place to do it. And assuming that decentralization works, if the market is allowed to do what it wants to do, if, basically meaning if Russia doesn't force its people when they do migrate there, which is very possible, by the way, but it's not going to be necessarily the case in a place like Germany, right? Where they have the euro and all these things. People want dollars, guys. So this is not something to fear. This is actually just going to make the US stronger, but this is just, I mean, this isn't even a contrarian take. This is just the truth. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and we will continue doing these. And just, yeah, good day to be a member of Palaview, I think. Let's go.